Naoya Inoue shows what a true fighter is supposed to look like. He's a real one. He's not one of those guys that's just gonna come for a paycheck. He's not coming to just show everybody that he's all for show. He can showboat, he can talk. He's the opposite. You know, he does the least amount of talking verbally, and then he goes in there and puts on a clinic, and a nasty and violent clinic where he goes for the kill. You know, that's the kind of person that should be representing boxing, not the guys in New York who just clearly came for a paycheck, wanted to get a win, and ultimately, you know, they did okay. Rolly impressed me, Tio somewhat impressed me, but everybody else was lackluster. Everybody else underperformed, in my opinion, because at the end of the day, when someone oversells and overhypes, you know, an event like the Times Square Fatal Fury card, I feel like, you know, you got to perform. I don't like hearing excuses. I don't like hearing, you know, that Devin Haney had a great performance. I understand that he wasn't supposed to look amazing, but ultimately he didn't do anything spectacular in that fight. He could have put more of an effort into make it a more exciting fight for the fans, just a little bit. I mean, I understand, you know, that you got beat up in your last fight and you got to be more careful now, but if you're gonna fight like that, like, you're not gonna compete with the elites, because the elites are gonna force you to fight. So for Devin Haney, you might as well reconsider everything if that's the way you're gonna fight. You know, I'd love to see Devin Haney back in the ring to, you know, return to the sport, but if he's gonna continue to fight like that, I don't think he's gonna go anywhere. You know, you got to be able to throw punches, you got to be able to sit in the pocket at least a little bit and, you know, land your shots. You know, he did the bare minimum to win that fight against Jose Ramirez. So, you know, I agree with Robert Garcia, what he said about, you know, the Ramirez versus Haney fight. I feel like that was a disgrace, honestly. That was unfortunate, and they should be, you know, apologizing to the boxing fans for that fight, because it was a waste of time. You know, we promote and, you know, get excited for these big cards, and then you go on and put up a performance where, you know, you're just running around, man. Like, you weren't trying to fight. Like, I really would love to see how he won the fight. Like, I get it. I get how Devin Haney won the fight, because ultimately Ramirez wasn't landing a lot of shots, but Haney moving so excessively and looking so scared doing it just made me feel like it felt wrong. It felt wrong to say that he won that fight. You know, you could say, I guess he won the boxing match, but let's not say fight. That wasn't a fight. Let's be real. Like, Devin Haney's not a fighter. He's a boxer now. You know, he's been kind of civilized ever since that Ryan Garcia fight happened, and you could see in his boxing style, the way he returned to the ring, he was civilized. He had no intention of exchanging with Jose Ramirez or making it a fight for the fans, because he knows, like, you guys are going to clown me if I do well, you guys are going to clown me if I don't do well. So he's like, might as well make it boring and just get my paycheck. And that's what separates a guy like Devin Haney from a guy like Naoya Inoue. You know, Inoue maybe hasn't fought as many, you know, huge names or relatively big names as Haney has, but there's one thing's for sure, you know, Devin Haney's not going to put on a performance like Inoue just did. Inoue's going to go for that kill. He doesn't mind getting hurt, you know, and getting back up. That's what fighting's about. You know, I understand that Floyd Mayweather kind of set up a blueprint for hit and not get hit, but like, these younger guys have taken it to a whole new extreme level, and I don't mean that in a good way. I think they're ruining the sport, because this is a sport that's supposed to be the hurt business, and I understand that boxing's a sport at the end of the day. There's supposed to be strategy in it, but like, dude, what Devin Haney did in there and what Canelo did in there shouldn't be, you know, promoted and, you know, encouraged in the sport of boxing, because those kinds of performances hurt the sport. It doesn't make us look strong. It doesn't make, you know, the sport of boxing look tough like the history of boxing has. It doesn't make it look amazing and motivational or anything like that. It makes it look, you know, boring. It makes it look boring and like weak, honestly. You know, Devin Haney didn't look strong in there. He looked weak and afraid of what Jose Ramirez had to offer, and Jose Ramirez isn't even in his prime anymore. So imagine if Ramirez really was in his prime, or if that was Ryan Garcia in there. That would have been a really boring fight for Devin Haney, or he probably, you know, would have gotten hurt. So, you know, I'm just here to say Inoue is the kind of guy that the sport of boxing should be getting behind, because you know what you're going to get. You know he's going to try to give you guys a good show, because that's just the kind of fighter he is. You knock him down, he's going to fight back even harder and get better. If you push that button, he's going to reset and then come at you and look for blood. And that was clear. And that's the kind of fighter that boxing needs. That's the kind of fighter that we all need to give the attention to. Not these guys that are just showing up for a paycheck, but the guys that are trying to make history and put on tremendous performances and killer performances like Inoue has. And that's why I feel that he's the #1 pound for pound fighter in the world right now. So let me know down below what you guys think. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next Navs Boxing video. Peace.